Hey, good evening. It's 7:22 p.m. Wednesday, January 3rd. So guess what? Maria's bored again. So I decided to come on here and make another video because I've been thinking a lot about my dad. And I know that he was ostracized because they believe that he brought in, a God. It's so ridiculous, but the Antichrist, right? Um, but I was thinking back at the times that I spent with my father, and my dad was always very serious when he spoke to me. He would pretend and be silly, and to be relatable to a child, because I know that my dad had a really good sense of humor, and spending time with my dad was just always like memorable, And I remember when I was around him, um, I couldn't get enough of him being around me. Like he spoke to me like I was an adult most of the time because we talked about things like, slavery. Even when I was like really little, he never felt as though I was too young to know things. So that I loved about him because I just thought he was the coolest person in the world. And then, of course, when we would spend time together and he would be silly, I always remembered that too, And I guess being around my father let me understand or made me understand that, you don't have to be just one way. You could be serious and you can also have a sense of humor. And I'm very much like my father, the man who raised me, James Gordon. Um, but when it came to religion, this is why, they must have just thought just because of my Ethiopian slash Egyptian background that obviously I'm coming from a different culture, and this is why they thought that I was going to rage against the Christian church. I do believe in my past life as the prince, I had spoken up about the hypocrisy of certain individuals who claim to be representatives of Jesus, just like I did about my sister Tanya when she wore that tank top. When it came to the conversation of religion with my dad, he did allow us to go to the church, the Baptist church, when we were in elementary school, and we did study with Jehovah's Witnesses. And I know that when my sister Tanya, my ex-sister Tanya, adopted sister Tanya, wanted to switch churches because she was going to a Baptist church first, and then she wanted to switch to, the born again Christian church. My father never spoke against Christianity. He never did. And I know that if he had an opinion against Christianity, he would have shared that openly. He did say, though, and I believe in, and I completely agree with his view on this, that if a person claims to be a part of a religion, then they should live within the guidelines of that religion. Otherwise, what are you doing in it, right? And I agree with him. As an adult, I totally agree with him on that. So, that to me is just like, when I think about that being slapped on me as a title or some sort of, I'm associated with that word in any way, it just like, it blows me away. And then, it's the explanation, or people would like to convince themselves that that's the explanation, because some people really have a hard time facing their racism. They have a really hard, they want to convince themselves that they're hating you for this one reason, but it's very difficult for them because for whatever reason, and I'm going to tell you, this is my honest feeling about this whole issue of supremacy, or this issue of feeling like you need to be on top, or I'm not into it. I'm really not. And I don't know. I just don't understand why people want to fight for supremacy in a place that to me is just nothing but hell. Like I don't understand it, And this is my view on it. There are certain people who are just going to be better in, like, maybe it's on an individual basis. That's how I look at it. There's certain people who are better than me. Like, there's certain mathematicians that could just whip that shit out right in their head. Without even thinking about it. I remember working with a woman. She was from China, and she was just like, I mean, she was amazing, right? And that's not to say that every Chinese person is like that. It's like it's it really is on an individual basis, and that's how I look at it. So I don't like getting wrapped up into any form of racist discussion or fights or arguments or petty things like that, because I am not somebody who wants to claim power over a system that I find absolutely disgusting. So, take your racist issue somewhere else, because I'm just not into it. But I did get some, intuitive messages. I think a lot of the people who are part of this group that follows me, they understand that, and they know that I'm telling the truth about my situation of being bullied my entire life. And, this is where the rage comes in. Earlier this evening, well, when did my bad mood start? My bad mood started like around 4 o'clock today. I started getting really pissed off because, I had made a video earlier in the day, and I was expressing my frustration about, me being mobbed out of my jobs, and then having certain avenues shut, and also, me being blotted out on social media, the rumor campaigns, and all this other stuff. And then I started thinking about, you know, I think it's more so the issue of the time. It's like I think about my life and very important parts of life that should be experienced by people who that take it for granted. I didn't have a lot of the things that other people did. You know what I mean? What I mean by that is I didn't experience certain things that other people did. You know what I mean? Maybe they were frivolous, but still, it's like, I've had this bullshit going on my entire life, and I'm angry, because sometimes I feel as though it's like when you're dealing with narcissism, they feel as though they don't think about how would they like it if 52 years of their life was sucked up by someone who had no fucking right. I mean, regardless of their position, it's like, it's the fact that you would even put somebody through something like that. It's just like, it's mind boggling to me. But anyway, no, I'm not on a power trip. I've been bullied all my life by the same people who bullied my father. And, that's what gets to me sometimes. It's like, when you put the Joseph Mengele thing in, it does make sense. It's just unreal to me. It's just like whatever. Anyway, moving on from that, the next message I got is that the people who watch my videos think that my interest in stuffed animals is rather cute, but they think it's weird, and I fully get it. I get it, but I don't know. I guess, like I said, stuffed animals don't give me any crap. They don't sit there and like try to force their opinion on me. They don't bully me. They fully respect me. So anyway, also, there's a lot of celebrities that are interested in contacting me, but they don't want to reach out because they think that I'm going to think it's weird that they're communicating with me out of the blue. And, I don't think people need to feel that way. I'm not going to trip out on you. I'm not going to cuss you out. I would treat you with the utmost respect. I'm not in any way trying to what do you call it? Get anything from people, or, I mean, I'm not looking for anything, just if it's cool that you want to reach out to me, that's fine. I'm not going to trip on that at all. And I'm not going to think it's weird, because I do realize that people do know who I am, even though social media numbers don't necessarily show it. Like, I know that people know who I am, and they've known about me even before I ever got on any of my YouTube channels. You know what I mean? Apparently something like this gets leaked and people talk about it. Even though it was supposed to be like a hush-hush thing, this is one of the reasons why the kids bullied me at school, because they did know that I was a clone. You know what I mean? Anyway, so no, I don't think it's weird that they would reach out to me, and I'm not in any way going to ask them, badger them for anything, try to get any information out from them. I'm not going to do that, okay? I'm fully respectful. Anyway, also, I know a lot of people are interested in reincarnation. That seems to be, kind of a trendy thing to talk about right now. Like I said, I'm really new to me coming to this understanding about the cloning thing and everything else, the Prince Alamale thing. It's just it's such a trip. But, you know, like I said, I'm starting to understand, like, why I have certain preferences, why I'm so, just the way that I am. But as far as me having any like flashbacks of me living in England or, or even in Ethiopia, I don't have that. And as time goes on, I'm sure that it will. A few nights ago, I was talking about this on one of my videos, and I was saying that I didn't know, as Prince Alamalehu, if I what my mode of transportation is. I'm assuming possibly a bicycle, because I thought, and I could be wrong, that the first automobile was made like in the 1901 or something. I could be wrong. I don't know if automobiles were even around back then, because I know he died, I think, in the mid 1800s or something. So I don't know. But no, I mean, I don't. But I do know that I noticed that there was differences when I was a kid about the table setting. When we eat, I would be setting the table. I'm like, well, my mom's like, oh, it's this supposed to be over here, and I'm like, well, in England it's over there. So I don't know. But yeah, certain things, my preferences, and those sort of things. My interest in, like, when I was younger, I had this huge interest in British men and all this other stuff, and British bands and stuff. So I think there's got to be, even though British bands, of course, weren't around at that time, it's just probably I have this interest or feel a connection to things that are English. And so, British people put out good music, so, I just kind of gravitated towards that. Anyway, so what is my other message? Oh yeah, some of the people, it would be very surprising. It's surprising to me, I should say, that some of the people who support me are come from like a completely different side of the spectrum. You know what I mean? But that's cool. That people do support me, and I do appreciate the people who do. And I'm just like a little bit shocked that that all this happened. So anyway, trying to think, is there anything else I want to say before I wrap it up? Yeah, I'm just kind of in one of those those moods, you know what I mean? And I am the kind of person who, because it is what it is, like, I am a clone, and I do have these standards, and I also have different needs and requirements than I would say average people do. Like, I know that I get bored and frustrated when when I feel like I'm restricted, or I'm like stuck. And see, I'm not trying to bring up the whole Patreon issue, but I'm just saying is that if I feel like if I'm hindered anyway, I'm just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, I pace around, and then I'm like, I'll sometimes just fall into like sitting around not doing anything, because I have to constantly be doing something. You know what I mean? And also, I do have a desire for things that are really intense. Like, I like being around things that are really bold in color, vibrant, loud, stuff like that. And some people will look at me and say, well, Maria, you're too old for that sort of stuff. But this is where my heart is. This is who I am. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, maybe they're settled in to maybe being married or whatever, but that's just not my fucking thing. And it's like, I understand that there's certain things, and there's other reasons why, I'm very cautious about certain things, because, it's very likely for me to be bullied in situations, okay? And, there really isn't that a lot of support for people in my situations, as we have already seen, with what went on. But so I have to be very careful about who comes into my life, and it's a wise decision. So people look at my life, and I know this is one of the reasons why some of these people in this group were kind of against me, because they're thinking, well, she's just not like us. I will say, and I think it's important that I say that, the reason why I'm not like everyone is because of the same goddamn people. This is why everything is circular. The argument with these people, it's circular, because the reason why Maria is standoffish, which is one of the things they complained about at my job, is because I don't like dealing with that shit. That's abnormal, and that's against the law, and that's why it causes it, because of the damage that it causes, okay? So they don't like the way that I choose to be single. This was one of the other issues they had with me. Well, the reason why I choose not to be single is because I was created by the people on the top of the pyramid, and they bullied me, and I have to be very cautious about these things. Okay, so everything that people pick on me for, I have a good explanation for. And like I said, it's circular because it always seems to come back to them. Now, I am very protective of my space and the people that I encounter, mainly because, I've been through, my experience with people has always been me being around people who are two-faced, people who were like informants. What I mean by that is being set up in jobs so they can report back to these people, blah, 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 okay? And I've never met very many sincere people in my life. You know what I mean? And knowing this, I mean, I want you to understand how it is for someone like me to deal with people and how I see people. Now, there are certain people who've been in situations where they've been abused, not just like mentally or financially, like me, right? But they've been like physically abused by people who, whatever, just people who had the control, where they felt like maybe they were married to like an ex-policeman or whatever, and they have a lot of influence in their community, and they go around and say, oh, shut her out of employment, and do this and say these sort of things to her, harass her. She literally has no place to go in a situation like that. She has nowhere to go because she's getting harassment from her neighbors. Her own fucking family's turned against her. She doesn't get any peace at her job, if she can even get one. And if she was to lose her house, if she goes to like a what do you call it, like a homeless shelter, people are already there. I wouldn't fucking fall asleep in one of those cots, not those open rooms with people who fucking want to kill you. You know what I mean? What this thing is, it's very it's disastrous. It's evil. Okay, and I think people need to understand, their the result of their foolish and thoughtless actions. What else do I want to say about this? So yeah, I get I get really irritated when I think about some little girl like myself, having to deal with that. And plus, if I did agree to come back, it was definitely just to be with my father. I would have never been a part of any of this goddamn shit that I never would have asked for in a million years. But you know, when it comes to being reincarnated, no, definitely, I certainly wouldn't want to have to deal with that ever again, and or be associated with saying that I'm the Antichrist, or not having a stable life. This is horrible. Nobody would agree to that. And plus, the fact that my father was in my life for such a very short time, because my father passed away in 1996, but even worse than that, my father started losing his mind when I was about 14 years old. And that, to me, he was slowly becoming something else. You know what I mean? So it was, I think my father really suffered a lot, and I suffered from seeing my father suffer. And then I suffered, my entire life, and I'm just, I don't even know what else to say. It's like and the fact that, I have to sit here and I'm glad I'm not going back to work, okay? I really used to enjoy work. I used to love going to work because it was like my little thing. I liked getting up in the morning. I liked color coordinating my clothes. And these people are like, what do you call it? They're like energy monsters. They like to literally suck the life out of you, and they think it's fucking funny. It's not fucking funny. You know what I mean? People should work in environments that make them happy, that they're well adjusted to. I think work is entirely too, I'm not saying everybody has to wear nice clothes to work, okay? But if that's something that you like, that makes you comfortable, that means that that's your ideal job, your like dream job, or people should be able to strive for that, instead of being in a miserable situation. Yeah, my clothes mean a lot to me because those are things that I hang on to. I don't believe there is not a person in this world that I would sit there and say, oh, I'm going to give up my stuff for, because there has never been a decent person in my life. I've only known assholes. That's all I've fucking known. So no, to even think that I would change my life or want to give up something. It's like these people were like torturous. They're torturous. It's not enough that you killed my father. I'm sorry. I'm just going on and on about this. I'm sorry. I'm obviously in a mood to just vent. Okay. But there's a lot of hatred there. How I feel towards this situation. There's a lot of hatred. I'm going to be honest. I hate it. You know what I mean? I hate it. I hate, the plot. I hate the stalking. I hated the, basically robbing somebody out of a life. Like I said, I'm 52 years old and I don't have a fucking plan. And the plans that I do make, somehow or another, they get absorbed by, a bunch of selfish people. But anyway, sorry, but you know what? Come on, you gotta give me a break, okay? I have to be able to say how I really feel. And this is how I feel. And I have every right to. My father was, to me, more than a good man. He was someone that I loved very much. Obviously he left a lasting impression on me because, I was definitely his daughter, meaning like he may not have been my blood father, but he certainly was someone that I loved very much, and it hurts me to understand what happened to him. It hurts me to know that. You know what I mean? So if that was your plan to follow Joseph Mengele, if it makes you happy to know that my father suffered, well, I'm sure you're very happy now. You're fucking evil. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. For all the people who support me, take care and have a good night.